Now you're welcome. So we are talking some All-Stars. This is Will Slattery's dream, actually. So the All-Stars have come up in the show a little bit over the last couple of weeks, and we were impressed by Will's near photographic memory of All-Stars past. And this is the week. It's Christmas time for Will. All-Stars to be unveiled over the next couple of days, and so the anger and the recrimination will begin. So we have brought in two men who've been part of many All-Star selection panels, and they are of this stable. Martin Breheny, good to have you in again, Martin.
Joe.
And Michael Verney.
Joe, how are you? This is like, you know, you put two lads together and you say they have 12 All-Irelands between them, but Martin has 11 of them and I have one, because I'm only a newbie on and he's a lot more experience on these committees than I do. But I usually like to give out from afar, and now Martin is giving out from afar because he's no longer involved.
Not giving out, just pointing out what's wrong.
Yeah, just on Will as well. If he really wants to test his knowledge, tell him to go to Sparkle and type in All Stars from 2000 to present, and you have about 15 minutes to name as many as you possibly can. And it's enjoyable, but it's horribly frustrating as well when you forget ones.
He just shouted in my ear, "Oh, I've done it."
Good man. What did he get, actually? I'd love to know. He hardly got them all.
He used to get them all except one.
Ooh, lovely. That would fairly frustrate you now.
He's good. I should say, by the way, our GAA podcast coverage is with thanks to AIB, proud sponsors of the All-Ireland Club Championships for men's football, hurling, ladies football and camogie, uniting four codes under one banner. And this unprecedented partnership underscores AIB's unwavering commitment to Gaelic games, celebrating the passion and dedication which drives clubs across the country. So I'm not really an All-Stars guy. The general history, so between 63 and 67 there was the Cuchulainn Award, and then the All-Stars as we know it was born in 1971. In 06 the upstarts, the GPA, launched a kind of parallel, we're going to have our own one, there was a parallel GPA team of the year, and then in 2011 the good decision was made to merge them. So now we have the GPA All-Stars. But 1971 was when the All-Stars were born as we really know them. And then if you want useless information, Carlow and Longford, the only counties in Ireland never to receive an All-Star in either sport. Nothing. Carlow and Longford. In hurling we have 23 sets of brothers who've won All-Stars. Football we have 13 sets of brothers. Ray Cummins of Cork holds the unique record of winning a hurling and football All-Star in the same year. That was in 1971 when it started, which is impressive. Obviously, Jimmy Barry Murphy, Brian Murphy of Cork and Liam Kearns of Offaly have won, but not in the same year. Tommy Welch of Kilkenny, 9 consecutive All-Stars in 5 different positions. And then most All-Stars, number 1, Henry Shefflin, out on his own with 11. Joint second, we have Tommy Welch, Pat Spillane, and we might touch on him later on in the episode, DJ Carey on 9, and third is the Gooch with 8. So 11 for Shefflin, 9 for DJ, Tommy Welch, Pat Spillane, and the Gooch third with 8. So, how many selection committees were you on, Martin?
I'd say about 23. I had 2 spells on it. I joined in 83 and I left exactly this month in 85, 2 years later, mounted my high horse and stormed out on foot of the failure, the sportsmanship rule, which that year kept out Eamon McEneaney of Monaghan. We'll return to the sportsmanship rule, but the sportsmanship rule was that if you were sent off, didn't matter what your character was or how minor the offence was, gone. So that pertained for many years. And in 1985, Eamon McEneaney was by a distance the best centre-half forward in football that year. It was Monaghan's best every year. They won the Ulster title and the National League title for the first time. And he was a certainty to win an All-Star. But in September, they were beaten in the semi-final replay by Kerry. But I think it was September, he was playing in a 7-a-side tournament in Dublin, and it was a blitz job. And even the first game, he was sent off, himself and one other guy, for a fairly minor scuffle along the sideline. But he was allowed to return for the remainder of the day for the several other games. And he thought that was it, that it was just probably an unofficial thing. But the long arm of the GAA law applied, and 2 weeks later he was told that he would be suspended. his All-Star went up, and that was his All-Star nomination, possibility of winning one, which he should have gone. So I stormed out. I had felt that there was a daft rule anyway. It was so unfair. There were so many examples up to then of players who had players who wouldn't be regarded as in any way lacking in sportsmanship, but got caught on a given day or whatever and just sent off. I mean, Dermot Earley, for instance, Dermot Senior, arguably one of the all-time sporting player that you wouldn't come across anybody better. But he was picked as an All-Star in '74. And in '75 they were travelling to America for the All-Stars tour, and I think they used to go around late in April or May. And he was sent off in a league game. I think it was against Dublin, clash with Bobby Doyle, and again nothing's too serious, but he was sent off, and he was told he couldn't travel with the team, and that was it. Sorry, you don't exist anymore. You have an All-Star award, but you don't exist. You're not coming. And at the time, now a trip to America was let me tell you, a huge prize. So John Kerry O'Donnell, Mr. GAA in New York at the time, and before and afterwards as well, he sent a telegram to Croke Park, addressed Dermot Earley, Croke Park, Ireland, extending an invitation to Dermot to travel to New York. He'd look after all the and Dermot went. But told me many years later that he regretted going because he was made to feel like an outsider, not by the players as such, but by the official there, because you were somehow tarnished. I mean, this was the. And it went on. Now, when they started to see, when the All-Stars were launched, it was launched. It's got to be important to remember this. They were launched by journalists. It was a journalist scheme which the GAA eventually came on board to agree with, to give it an official standing. And sportsmanship was inserted into the rules. It was and rightly so. No problem with that. But this absolute intransigence that didn't matter what happened. I mean, John O'Keefe, if memory serves me correctly, I think he served a term of suspension. They changed the rules one year, personal fouling a bit more strict or whatever, for a little short period, because it disappeared then afterwards, as it often does. But like people like that, and it was just wrong. It was played blatantly wrong. And in '83, there was a Players' Association before the GPA. A lot of people forget that. It was literally called the Players' Association. Robbie Kelleher from Dublin, Johnny Callan from Clare, several others were involved in it. And they ran it as best they could, but it had no official status because it was denied official status by Croke Park. Shall we say there was a fair amount of ice around the idea in Croke Park of a Players' Association. But Robbie wrote a letter to the steering committee of the All-Stars pointing out how unfair the sportsmanship rule was. Again, that everybody is a blanket ban on everybody, and pointing out, and it's very. I've saw the letter, and it's very reasonable and very well argued, but no change. It didn't matter. If you were sent off, you were gone. That was it. And
you'd say one thing about the sending off. If it was within the same competition, or something like to be sent off in a 7-a-side tournament, and for that to have
that was bizarre, Michael. But that was just crazy, particularly when you're allowed to play on afterwards. And that was it was just. But then there were so many other instances. We were talking about them a bit earlier that. People they would pick the All-Stars maybe this time of the year, a little earlier, but the function mightn't be until January, and you could get sent off in between, as happened to several players. Pat Fleury of Offaly, and you know all about cornerback play, Michael.
I often remind them.
In '82, an All-Star in '82, he was sent off. I think it was a Oireachtas game against Clare in between the two, and so the function. The night of the function, his invitation was he got no invitation.
Yeah.
Revoked.
Yeah.
It reminded you, yeah.
Wow.
So that's nuts. Like, it's basically like, lads, you better be on your best behaviour for the next 3 months or you're not coming.
There were fellas as well they used to bring obviously a replacement All-Stars would be named afterwards, because so many teams, the All-Ireland winners would play the All-Stars. This was the idea. And guys would, some of the fellows got sent off after being invited to travel to America and all this. I think Cloney Brennan down in Kilkenny, he won one, and I think it was '79. Something similar. So the trick was, lads would try to get you sent off. If you were chosen for an All-Star, and the league went on then, and the league and the Oireachtas and all those just we played up to December. So lads would try to send you off. I think it was Martin Quigley told a story that he was told to have a go of Tony Keady in a league game in 88-89 on the basis that Keady couldn't respond or couldn't react because he'd been picked as an All-Star. So you had, it was just
like, hit me.
I can't. I have to take it. Whatever you do, I have to take it. It was comical.
So how long did the Martin Breheny Exodus last 4.
Lasted till 1999.
What?
Yes,
Yeah.
it did, yes. Because it
This man doesn't mess about. When he makes a stand, he makes a
it
stand.
lasted
You were 14 years in Siberia.
I had a great time. I was 14 years. I was 14 years outside commenting on the All Stars, and every year what I used to do was I got great fun out of it. The All Stars would be chosen, and again, it's not like now. That might have changed the rule actually. There was a gap, maybe a few weeks before the presentation, so everybody was sworn to secrecy, and people generally would keep their selectors. But what I would do is I'd talk to those very selectors and see what I could glean from each of them and say, isn't it terrible that Michael Verney wasn't selected? And they say, well, he was selected. Oh, I say, well, that's you know. So you could work it out. And I used to carry the team as best I could in the now defunct Irish press. And I got great fun in doing that. So I didn't return until 1999.
What convinced you to go back in 99?
The rule had changed.
Only in 99?
No, it had changed a bit earlier, but they didn't invite me back.
You didn't go grovelling at the door or anything.
No, I didn't.
Like that.
No, the rule had changed, but they left me outside for a while. And then, I don't know, but anyway, so I was back then until 2019.
Okay, so 23. And you've done how many?
This is only my second year.
Ah.
Yeah. So I, like Martin is doing now, Martin has a column in the Independent tomorrow, like, you know, giving out, as he normally does, about the All-Stars. I love doing that when I wasn't involved, which obviously can't do it when you're involved. Because you see a certain thing or a certain player, it's a disgrace that he's not involved, and you kind of have to have your trap shut now that you're involved in the process a bit more. Okay. You know, I kind of enjoyed giving out.
Michael, they were always managers should do that. I mean, the following day after that, we'll come to that in a second, but they'd give out about, well, why isn't such one on the team or whatever, and county officials and the whole on. But in all the years, I never saw one of them who said should be left off. You know, you would have 21 players and say, well, he should be on, but well, who should be left off? But they wouldn't actually say. But
that's the one thing I learned from Martin anyway, from being involved in that committee. Someone comes at you on X or whatever it is and they say, oh, it's a disgrace that Jimmy or Johnny wasn't in. And you're like, grand, no problem, who's in instead of him? And people are so reluctant to say he should be out, he should be in. But it's so easy to say he should be in. And there should be 16, 17, 18, 19 players on the team.
Not to ask irrelevant questions, where do you all meet?
We meet in PwC or the sponsors, so that's where we meet to pick the teams tomorrow.
And you go in at what time?
Morning time. Hurling is in the morning, bit of lunch, then football in the afternoon.
And is no one allowed leave until there's white smoke? Does it ever spill over into day 2?
No. Well, maybe Martin might be able to tell you. They might have got a night away out of it as well.
It's more sanitised now.
I just feel like, 12 angry men. Like I am not letting that happen. I'm going to convince 11 of you the other way.
The anger's gone out of it, and that's part of the problem, because you can see. I mean, the nomination process takes care of that to some degree, in that you can see the shape of it, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it was far more. There used to be far more angst, shall we say, in the days when there was no. Now you're asked to nominate your team in advance. That's still the situation?
Yeah, you nominate your 45 in advance.
Yeah.
Like early September, I think it is, and then you nominate you have your team named in advance as well. So they can collate all the numbers, and Joe Malloy got 12 votes, Martin got 2 votes, or whatever it is,
And so then, because I like to imagine debate. I like to imagine, you don't know what you're talking about, all that kind of stuff. But is there a danger now that you name your 15 in advance and someone puts it up on the board, well, Martin Breheny has the most points, so he's in, and in effect it's just a democratic vote as opposed to an argument.
Yeah, no, that can be funny, because I sent in my team yesterday, and I've since changed my mind. Okay. As regards 2 players, because I've thought about it even more, and
that should go down well tomorrow.
Well, I changed my mind on the 45 as well, with a couple with time, and you start thinking about it a little bit more.
But they didn't play any games since last night.
No, they didn't. But maybe when you actually have to commit to something, I think it causes, and write something down, I think, or fill it in as it is, I think it causes you to think a bit deeper about things, and then you're like, oh, you think about it a bit more. You're like, Jesus, I don't know if that was right or whatever. But there'd be loads of debate.
But Joe is right, though.
And how does the debate go? Give us a sample of last year. Joanne Cantwell said, you don't know what you're talking about. And you said, you don't know what you're talking about.
No, it doesn't quite go like that now. But
so how does it go?
If I think somebody should be in and they're on the borderline, I will have all my stats and facts in place on what they did in this game, what they did in that game, who they were marking in this game, etc., etc. How many scores they got, how many frees they were involved in, and that's how you make.
And does it end with someone going, fine, disagree with you, but fine, crossing their arms?
It'd probably be like, I'd probably making that case for someone against somebody else, another player, and then you stack the two of them up, and there's probably a vote then if it's down between the two of them for a final
Michael,
spot.
I'm interested in what you say there, because this business of stats, stats are selective.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so somebody can come in armed with the absolute brilliant set of stats, but are they actually 100% accurate? And if stats are being used, then they're either got to be central stats. I mean, each person can with their own stats to suit their argument.
Oh, completely.
It's fair enough of that person.
Yeah.
But I must say, a large pinch of salt. I take a large pinch of salt in that, because of it. You're only using it, in fairness, to strengthen your case.
Yeah.
But it may not be. You may ignore the goal he gave, the goal he conceded as well, because it suits your argument. In fairness, that's the thing with stats.
Oh, completely, Martin. And if you're trying to big up a player, you're only saying the positive things, and some of them are probably embellished to a fair point.
And there should also be an instinct about it. I mean, you can blind yourself with stats, but there has to be an instinct about
the eye test
over the year.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that is it, exactly. You remember certain things. Jeez, remember when he did that? That was a massive play in a massive game that turned the game.
A Kieran McDonald outside of the boot point is worth more than other points. That kind of a thing.
Yeah, to a point. Well, you remember it.
That's
you know what I mean?
So
we're still talking about now.
Was there any egregious mistake in your view last year that you weren't happy with? An omission?
No, not really. No, I was very put out this year that Peter Duggan wasn't on the 45. To be honest with you, I thought that was wrong. But he wasn't on the 45. I made my case. The majority didn't agree, so you move on. But that's just what I thought.
I always had a case, or Colin Keyes would vouch for this, that I always used to go for the underdog, push the underdog.
Yeah.
I mean, Paul, you mentioned earlier, Longford never got an All-Star.
Paul Barden.
Was there a better footballer than Paul Barden over 50 years? I don't think he ever missed a championship game, but he never got to and that's another scale, he never got to the level, the All-Ireland level, although I have no doubt he would have been brilliant on the Dublin team of the last years, or Kerry or whatever. And, Leighton, Glenn and Carlo, these lads, and they never ever, they were Dara Foley and Carlo, for instance. I mean,
Leighton, Glenn, Wicklow,
Leighton, Wicklow. So, these lads, and I always used to make a case, knowing I'd lose, by the way. It's a bit like, I don't know, some independent TD who just wants to make a case for that constituency, but I still like that constituency of the underdog who was no chance.
So you sat in these things 23 times as opposed to Michael's one. I presume some years it's fairly, consensus, most people agree, and then there are contentious years, or is it always a bit contentious?
In my experience, Joe, it was more contentious going back than I recall 2010, for instance, when Cork won the All-Ireland football final, and there was no forward included. Now, it's hard enough to win the All-Ireland title, you would imagine, without having one forward that was and I think Down had three. So there were contentious. I'm just taking that as I think since people started, they're sending in your team in
advance.
In advance. That's taken it out to some degree, because it does. I think, Michael, it does kill the debate thing. And that, in fairness, we'll say it's, I don't know, is it 15 of you or 13 of you? I don't know, whatever number it is.
In around that.
We'll say it's 13. I don't know.
Do you want the committee from last year?
Yeah, just I'm wondering how many are on it. Yeah.
Names and addresses.
Air quotes.
So, just for instance, football last year, you had Kenny Archer, the Irish News, Maurice Brosnan, the Examiner, Jason Byrne, the Sun, Joanne Cantwell, RTE. Michael Foley, Sunday Times, Colin Keyes of the Irish Independent, Gordon Manning, Irish Times, Sarah Mulcairns, BBC, Keane O'Connell, GAA.E, Paddy O'Griefa, Radio na Gaeltachta, Carlo Kane, The Star, and Tommy Rooney, News Talk. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
So therefore, if you have 12 and it's 9-3, 10-2, even 8-4, if it's 9... There isn't much point for the people who vote. Even the three, because if they do, I mean, if 9 people think this way, it's pretty sad if they didn't change their mind on the basis of some contrarian kicking up.
You'd be surprised.
I know that, I've seen it, but I would say people like that shouldn't be on the selection committee.
Yeah.
If you're persuaded so easily by somebody else's opinion or drawing on your stats.
But you have seen swings, though. You have seen swings like that. It can swing on a good argument.
Well,
because if you pick someone and you're kind of like, I'm not 100% sure on him, but it's the best of this lot, and then someone gives a very good argument. Like, you have seen it swing around.
Michael's back with his stats now.
No, Martin. No, don't pay me out to be something I'm not. I'm not a big stats man, but I will. If I'm trying to,
it first,
but if I'm trying to bring a case, I will say that he scored 24 points from play, or he scored. John McGrath scored 7-16 or whatever it is. But I'm not going to be like, he got a hook in the 38th minute or something like that now either.
Does it? A last one on this. Does it ever get, in your experience of the 23? Has there ever been a year of raised voices and it did get tetchy? That's what I'm looking for here.
Well, there was one. I would tell you, 83. I remember it was quite tetchy that year. As I recall, it was over. It was Paddy O'Shea who had got 3 All-Stars, I think, as our wing back, which was his natural. But he'd gone back to right quarterback in 83, and they were beaten in the Munster final. So he hadn't had played much at right quarterback. And Mick Holden was the Dublin right quarterback that year. Had a damn good year. As beating Galway, I know all about it. And that was tetchy that year because there was no logical. Paddy O'Shea got it, by the way, but there was no logical reason for it because he just simply had not played enough. So he was getting it as a carryover from the previous years. And I've seen that over the years as well. That a guy who has 3 or 4 All-Stars, if he's a mid and old year at all, it strengthens his case as opposed to the newcomer. And so they would. And then what happened? I remember Jimmy Kerrigan was the outstanding wing back in 83. And then some of the people, because Mick Holden lost out, and some of the people who, or many of the people who would, or all of them who would vote for Mick Holden, said, right, they now tried to push PJ Buckley of Dublin at left half back ahead of Jimmy Kerrigan. And I always remember Sean O'Callaghan, the late Sean O'Callaghan, who was a true blue double the whole lot. But I always remember what he said. He said, we've made a bad mistake at right cornerback. He says, let's not do the same at left half back. Jimmy Kerrigan is the best, even though he would have been a former Dublin player or whatever. So that was one that stuck out. That really did stick out as contentious.
Why are you not a fan of it these days?
Because I think it's become sanitised. I think there are too many. For instance, over the last 10 years, I think in hurling and football, in 8 of those, the All Ireland finalists have either between 10 and 12. So it's 24 out of 30 All Ireland finals. So you may as well take the when the All Ireland finals are played, get the videos out of the All Ireland final, and go back on those teams, the teams that won, and maybe the semi-finalists. I think that's the reason. I'm a fan of it. I think it's a great. I think it's a fantastic scheme. But I'm. You don't get any arguments about it anymore. I mean, I think that's part of it. It's too set piece almost now, with too many all the time. And it shouldn't be that way, because back in the day, like, there was only 31 football games in the championship, for instance. Now there were 99 this year, and in football, I think, or hurling, there was 35 this year, 34. There used to be only 12 or 30. So
the weighting towards semi-final, and in particular final performances, give it almost a formulaic nature.
It's more like it's like the All Ireland All Stars now. Now, let's be fair, it wasn't always massively different. Although the first All Stars in 71, Galway and Offaly in the football, they got 4 each, I think it was, and 8 counties were represented. So it was a bit different then. I just think it's too many automatically now.
And would anyone say something like, "Come here, I thought your man was brilliant in the league"? Would that just be laughed out of the room?
Nowadays it would, and I hate using the old, but when the championship was smaller, way back before the back door and the whole lot, the league did count because of the fact that there was more good. But now it only starts in what, May? Really, All Stars.
Yeah, realistically.
Would provincial performances go a long way? No.
They would, but as Martin says, it is more heavily weighted on finals.
What do you think? How do you feel?
No, I'd agree with Martin, but there has to be kind of a seed change and a change of mentality as regards how you're going at it. Like, say someone like Lee Chin is never going to get another All-Star, as good as he is, unless Wexford get to a Leinster final or get to All-Ireland semi-finals. Do you know what I mean? Who else are we looking at here? Say Mark Fitzgerald from Waterford, who's outstanding, got nominated. But he's really on the back foot because of the more exposure that the Tipperary halfbacks got, that the Cork halfbacks got, that the Kilkenny halfbacks got, and it has been weighted a lot more towards those latter games.
But you could weight it though, and that if there was regular meetings throughout the year.
Yeah,
where and that was tried at one stage half-heartedly have to say you have to submit a team after the championship. But if there were meetings every month and sort of a point, so your name, Lee Chain's name, is still in the hat come August. And in other words, has he been overtaken?
Yeah,
I think that would help the cause. I think
because I'm sure other sports do have that recency bias or that bias towards the final or semi-final. But I suppose in professional sports, you know, there's an initial meritocracy whereby like a Lee Chin will go and play for one of the biggest teams who'll get into a final, where if you're from a lesser county and you're arguably a better player than somebody who's racking up 4 All-Stars, you've kind of no recourse. You're a bit screwed.
Yeah.
Like Foley in football, I mean, I'm just use an example now, say, for instance, I mean, if it was over the last 10, 15 years.
Why can't you stick up for the little guy? What's your problem?
I try to. There's only a certain amount of hills you can die on as well. Isn't there, Martin, as well, when you're trying to make a case for a player? Like I've made cases for players where I know there's not a snowball chance in hell of this player getting in, but you have to make the case, and you have to be, for my own sanity, I have to make the case and say, well, at least I argued for him and I tried to win someone over, whether you will or not. Like Lee Chin is seriously on the back foot. Like getting a nomination is an achievement now, because they didn't get through and Leinster didn't make the top 3. Same with Mark Fitzgerald, same with Stephen Bennett. That wasn't the case. They were really in the All-Star reckoning years ago, but it has shifted and it's a real concentrated focus on those final games, the final 3 games realistically.
Yeah.
Also there's, you know, sometimes if you speak up for a player, it could come against them. That's the point. If the colleague say he's making too strong a case for evidence. And I had an example of that. For instance, there were 3 of us at one stage, I think, from Galway on the 4 actually on the All-Star selection. There was myself, Michael Lester, Martin O'Keara, and Sean Byrne, I think, at one stage. And I can tell you, Galway's tally of those, it wasn't great, let me tell you. But in 2018, Shane Walsh was by a distance the best Galway that had an excellent year that year. But he didn't get an All-Star, and I lobbied for him, but of course people kept pointing him, well, he's your own club, Kilkenny Clonberne. No longer my own club, but there you go. But
you wouldn't lobby for him now.
I'd always vote.
You never miss an opportunity.
I'd always vote for.
Don't let the door hit you, Shane.
But I think it kept not at all over. Fantastic player, fantastic servant to the club, and hopefully will be back.
Yeah. But you felt on merit he deserved one.
Well, 100%,
100%,
and I was wrong. I was rather silly. I thought that for a man who'd been around so long, I should have got somebody else to drive the case, because I felt I could see sort of he wants to go back to Kilkenny now, and so he got him an All-Star.
For me, that weighting's the biggest problem with it. It's why I don't pay much heed. You know what I mean? Brilliant performances in the provincial, when that's a huge game on its merits. Just kind of like, you know, once you get to a fancy PwC boardroom in November, just the memory of them's gone.
Yeah,
it is unfair.
It is. I just mentioned Peter Duggan earlier.
Yeah.
I would weight performances in defeat higher than performances in victory, and he was unbelievable when they were beaten by Waterford.
Funny you say that. This year, Galway didn't have a good year. Anytime, you know, it's very easy to play well when the team is going well.
Yeah,
everything's up. John Maher, anytime Galway weren't going well, he would just wrestle a ball and like try and turn a tide of momentum, and they might have come out the wrong side of a game. But I remember looking at him going, that's brilliant. Like, that's unbelievable play to do it when the team's not going well.
Well, that's how, like, we all know, lads, that like if you're winning by 10 points, they'll help you win by 15. But if you're losing by 10, it's the opposite. And I would place a lot of stock on that.
It's easy to be comfortable to see. There's not a lot of criticism if there's 12 All-Stars, 12 All-Ireland winners on it. But if you had a team with only 3 or 4, of the All-Ireland winning team, now the criticism starts. And in theory, that should be possible.
Yeah.
I mean, I think...
Where do you think fear of being criticised, whether it's voiced or not in the room, where do you think the fear of a public, who voted for this team? How big a role does that play?
Just on that, right? You asked me, like last year, Kyle Hayes was nominated for Hurler of the Year.
Oh,
that's one of the biggest things that's happened.
Yeah.
And in fairness, and we didn't even talk about it before on Martin when we were chatting, that got people talking about the All-Stars. That wasn't done on purpose. And I'd be straight with you, I lobbied for him because I thought I was going for performances on the pitch, and I thought this lad is in the top 3, and I'd stand over that all day, every day. If rules change and things outside of the pitch are brought into it, fair enough, we can debate that or whatever. But that's definitely the biggest thing. That's probably the biggest thing in the last 10 years, and probably that's a different type of contention, obviously. But that type of thing does get people talking.
Yeah, that's fair. No, I mean Martin's point that like, geez, we're open to looking like a gobshites here if we have 5 players from the All-Ireland final on the team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though from your heart of hearts you think, well, I like John Maher for that reason, and I like Duggan for that reason. But then the team's released, and it's like the 2 best teams in the country. They've 5 players combined. I just think that must be in the ether somehow.
I have no doubt. I have no doubt it because it's. For instance, there was a controversy in '91 of sorts. One of the few years when the losers, the All Ireland, got more than the winners. Meath got more than Down. Which
Right.
Didn't. That on foot, I suppose, of those 4 games, and they played 10 games in the championship. So and again, they lost by 2 points. But why is it always? Why are the always winners always get one more or 2 more? You take, say, last year, for instance, Galway and Armagh. If Galway got a goal in the last minute, you could rest assured, instead of it being whatever it was, 6-5 or whatever, forget what it was, it would have been the other way around. It's like the man of the match in the All Ireland final on RTE, for instance. It automatically has to be a winner. You could score 17 points. You won't better because why? Because nobody wants a sad loser, and they don't have a camera out at the. It's daft. Like, I mean,
But you weren't above this either, I'm sure.
Oh, of course I was, Joe. But no, of course I know. Everybody.
Yeah, it's a human thing.
It's a human thing. Yeah, but that is. There's no doubt about it. That nobody wants you if you walked out with 4 tomorrow, but. It could, in actual fact, be the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Because, Joe, your point is, people have no way of rising to the top, if you like, in terms of.
No, you're stuck.
It has still happened, Joe. Like, Donegal got 10 nominations this year. Kerry got 9.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I remember being in the room, we talked about it, and I said, that is fantastic. That shows that the committee, have taken this on the right terms.
Yeah.
And not worried about optics.
Yeah, they played more. They played more competitive games the whole way through. I would say when Cork were beaten in the 2021 All Ireland final, they didn't get an All Star.
That's right.
Must be the only time an All Ireland finalists didn't get an All Star? So it has happened. Yeah.
There you go. In defence.
And I put it this way: you were on the committee, Martin, when this was unprecedented as well. When they couldn't decide between David Clark and Cluxton for the football, or it wasn't clear cut for the goalkeeping All-Star, so they both got nominated for Footballer of the Year.
Oh yeah, Cluxton and David Clark.
And that, not been smart, like to most people that looked a bit daft.
Oh yeah, no.
Because you were nominated for Footballer of the Year, but the loser wasn't even going to get an All-Star.
Yeah,
but
yeah, you're
remember
right. That did.
Yeah.
That was. I can tell you at that meeting there was a lot of debate on that, but. Still, it was valid because they were
like that.
genuine contenders. Yeah.
Don't worry about how it looks. If it's the right thing to do.
I don't think people mind that much. Like Colin Kavanagh was picked as a full back All-Star. There was loads of criticism over that, but he played sweeper.
Yeah, where are you on the whole, like, geez, there aren't any full forwards anymore. Let's just shoehorn a few lads in. Like, I mean, positions have become very outdated, obviously, in an All-Star team.
Yeah, there's going to be a good bit of debate around that tomorrow, particularly around the full back spot and the centre back spot.
Why?
Because like if Ronan Maher is the Tipperary captain, he wears 6. He played full back for the vast majority of the championship, so that means he's going up against Hugh Lawler for the full back spot. In my head,
yeah.
But he could easily be.
You'll fudge it and stick him in.
He could easily be the centre back,
yeah.
and that's not right. But saying that, if he is the full back All-Star, and you have to pick someone at number 6 who didn't necessarily play centre back, but he's one of the best 6 backs, I don't see as much of an issue with that now because positions are gone very fluid now compared to what they would have been before.
There's a fair bit of flexibility on that, but I would go back to Colin Kavanagh. I thought that was a bad decision that time. I have to say, I thought the full-backs, they all weren't that bad that you had to pick a man who would literally play a sweeper. But the flexibility is there. But then you ask the question: maybe it's time to pick the top 20 of the top 20 players, and if that includes 6 goalkeepers, unlikely. But if it does, so be it. You know, like maybe it's time to.
Yeah, goalkeepers are the ones that always lose out. Actually, funnily enough, because you can pick 2 fullbacks in your team, 1 cornerback, 1 fullback. You're only going to pick 1 keeper under the current
James
system.
McGarry nominated 6 times and never got an All-Star.
Good one. There was one about James McGarry who goes around like this. You know, he was nominated so many times, and Kilkenny won so many All Irelands, and he got a text from someone fairly close to him, shall we say, or that maybe had been in a superior position to him, shall we say, and it was, don't let the bastards get to you. after, being snubbed yet again. And that was how that was viewed as well, as good as he was. But there's part of that was he had such a good defence in front of him, littered with All-Stars and All-Ireland winners, that he probably wasn't maybe tested as much, and he maybe wasn't flying around the goal as much as Brendan Cummins was, who had maybe a more leaky defence in front of him and could be flamboyant and show loads of flair. Do you know what I mean? So I know that would still stick in his craw.
Certainly was a record, I said, to be nominated 6 times and not get any.
Other kind of quote-unquote controversies. 06, Frank McGuigan put his All-Star trophy up for sale on eBay after Brian was not selected as an All-Star in 05 in protest. What a scam the whole thing was. Peter Canavan got the nod at centre forward, even though he featured mainly as an impact sub in their championship run in 05. And Canavan himself said, in my opinion, the best centre-half forward by a long distance was Brian McGuigan. So not hearing his name called out was a major surprise.
Peter didn't refuse to take it all the same, though, in protest.
And then, of course, the biggie was 94 when Brian Whelan was Player of the Year but didn't get an All-Star. In an attempt to prevent leaks and have the 15 announced live on RTE, the team was chosen by a secret ballot, and so Whelan and Limerick's David Clarke were the 2 prime candidates for wing back. Both had played though on the right. One of them would have to go number 7, so Clarke got the right half vote. Many of those who supported him did so on the basis that they'd vote Whelan in at left half back, but that spread the vote on Whelan. Some had voted for him at 5, some voted for him at 7. It left him short in both positions, and then live on RTE television, he gets Player of the Year, but he doesn't get an All-Star.
Madness.
Yeah, well, to avoid leaks, I was chasing the leaks myself at that stage. So, but
that was still when you were in your Exodus years.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was done by private ballot. But what should have happened there was, there was a steering committee on overall, when that was spotted.
Yeah.
They should have revisited, because it made no sense whatsoever. And I mean, if it makes no sense, then it shouldn't have happened.
Sometimes you just have to be like, lads, come on now, hands up here. I don't care what the process or protocols are here. This is disgraceful, and we need to sort it out. Yeah. And obviously, it was another Offaly man, Kevin Martin, going in instead of him. Yeah. I was 8 years old. I remember watching that. That was about a week before Christmas in '94, I think. And I looking at it like this, like, how is he not in the team? And it'll forever be remembered as one of the greatest controversies.
As well, I know
he's delighted not to.
I was. It
wouldn't have happened on my watch.
Absolutely, I was absolutely. But the secret ballot was always going to lead to. There was always a risk, because you do not know how it would go, and it's only counted afterwards. And there's got to be should have been a corrective.
What do you suspect it means to players?
Oh, a hell of a lot. Yeah, a hell of a lot. There's only one team can win the All Ireland, obviously. But if your individual performances are recognised with an All-Star, or for like a Westmeath player or an Antrim player in a nomination, is massive for them, like massive. I think it means a hell of a lot. Yeah, there's only a certain amount of people who can get their hands on Celtic Crosses a year. I think this definitely feeds into it. It's not the same, but geez, it's not a bad substitute to be recognised among the best 15 in a given year. I think it means a hell of a lot, yeah. And I think it's a big kind of like a pub conversation as well. If your team is going well or whatever, it's like, oh geez, he could be in line for an All-Star this year. Yeah. That's a lot of talk. Not as much talk around it as there used to be, but there is still a lot of talk around that. Oh, does he deserve an All-Star? Does he deserve an All-Star nomination? Any players I've ever spoken to, it means a hell of a lot. Like, I was only speaking to Milan about it this morning, and he cherishes the 5, and he said he got nominated 10 out of 12 years, which is fair consistency now. And you don't forget things like that. And on the flip of that as well, you don't forget lads that were left out at different times. Don't forget, like Tom Kenny from Cork, nominated 6 years in a row, didn't get one. Taggy Fogarty, Manus Boyle from Donegal, James McGarry. I think it means a lot, to be fair. If you have the cushion of an All Ireland final and you don't get one, grand. If you don't, and you feel hard done by, I'd say it's a bitter enough pill to swallow.
Yeah. Must be tricky if you're on the panel and you just haven't seen certain games as well. You're like, I missed those games. I was travelling and.
Yeah, to be fair, obviously a lot of them are televised in some shape or form now, and you are given a GAA Plus
so you can
pass to look back. So you don't really have any excuse in that respect. And even some games that maybe there's no access to, you have to chat to people that were there. You have to chat to your local cars, and a hell of a lot of calls and stuff like that involved in it as well. Plus, you have an opinion yourself, and you maybe chat to other people and just not taking their opinion as whatever, but you'd be just to see. I'd always gauge what other people think as well. Chances are it won't change my mind, but I think it's important to have the bit of balance in it as well.
Well, the Independent played a very big role for many years. At the time, we used to carry every match, every match, all the teams and every player rated, hurling and football, all right throughout the year. It was a damn good indicator, and I used to see a lot of people from other newspapers.
Yep. There's your stats now, Martin.
With that at there, but at least that was an opinion of somebody else. A match you wouldn't be at,
totally.
and every player from every county was ranked. So it certainly helped.
For 2 years in '95, when Power Screen came on as the sponsors, backed by Croke Park, they said actually the players are voting for this now.
That was a dark period.
And so for 2 years the players voted, but again I think it ties into. You don't see every game necessarily. Players miss things. They're playing games, for God's sake, when other games are on. So, for instance, in ’95, Jason Sherlock did not get an All-Star.
That's true. I mean, players are not necessarily... No, but they're not. I mean, they see the game through their own particular prism or whatever. And
I wonder, is there a hybrid model where players can vote somehow?
They get to vote on the vote on the young player of the year.
I know, yeah, but for the All-Star team.
I was involved in the Champion 15 selection, which is Ring, Rackard, Mar, and the Joe McDonough selection. And a lot of because you haven't seen every game, players do vote on.
Okay.
How many games did you see?
What do you mean?
In the Ring or Rackard or Mackey?
Just a lot towards the latter stage. And if Offaly were in the McDonough, I probably would have seen all of their games. Which
did you see any Mar? How many Lowry Mar games did you see?
Finals were the only ones that would have been televised.
Where are you going with this? What are you
just asking.
But that's why you're bringing in the players.
I'm just defending
opinions as well. Yeah,
trying to make a mockery of you.
In fairness to me,
I'm only asking.
I appreciate that. Now, in fairness.
But the other when Power Screen came in as the All-Star, I mean, again, it was. This was a media scheme, and Croke Park shamefully and briefly as it happened backed this idea, and it came on foot of the Brian Whelan affair the year before, as if Croke Park had nothing to do with that. Anyway, but of course, what happened was they got no publicity because why if the media weren't involved, it was their scheme, and there was a lot of opposition to what the way and the manner in which they'd been removed from it. It didn't get the same publicity at all, and Power Screen were gone in 2 years, and common sense resumed, such as it is.
Okay. So, what are you going to take from this conversation when you're heading in tomorrow now? To go for the little guy, provincial championship to the fore.
See, like on the hurling selection tomorrow. I just think it's natural enough to place less stock on the Leinster Championship than the Munster Championship, just because of how it wasn't nearly as competitive as I think it's a brilliant scheme, and it's basic debate.
Yeah.
You think this, I think that. Martin thinks something else. We throw it all into the pot, and we have to come to some sort of consensus. And what's funny is, you might be strong on someone, and you might be a little less strong on someone else, and you have to.
A bit of cattle trading.
There's a little bit.
Come here, tell me this: who are you going in? That's not dead obvious. That's not dead obvious. Who are you going into that room tomorrow, and over your dead body are you leaving? Without that person on the team?
I'd be afraid I'd be well warned here now with fellow selectors. But Brian O'Mara from Tipperary will be one.
Okay.
Probably a little less flashy and flamboyant.
So if you're on the wrong side of an 8-2 tomorrow, Brian O'Mara.
If you're on the wrong side of an 8-2, there's very little you can do. If you're on the wrong side of a 7-5, 6-4, 7-5, you're kind of.
Michael, you're going to. You said earlier that you had changed your mind already on
you're weak
on two players.
Verney.
No, nothing to that. But you better announce that at the start when they come to that position, and I'll tell you why. Because if for instance it's going against you, and you say, "Well, I've changed my mind," that'll make you look weak. Because if you change your mind, there won't be any hurling going on between 11 o'clock and 12:30.
Hell of a lot going up my head.
So I've made up my mind. This is what it is, and I'm sticking by my man. If he's eliminated and it goes to another vote, well then that's fine. You go with the other guy, but you have to stick. And otherwise, they're entitled to, people are entitled to ask you, why did you change your mind?
Just on that, right? Say there's 12 on the committee, something in around that number. Yeah. So let's just say Robert Doyle gets 12 votes tomorrow, and all of a sudden, then 3 people maybe have changed their mind, and then you're kind of looking and say, well, he got 12 votes, so like he's unanimous that he's in this team. Do you know what I mean? So, like, that's kind of where the numbers stack up, and what Martin was saying about maybe less rows. It is good to have those numbers there.
As a reference.
Yeah, as a reference. Particularly on the nominations, but even on the team as well. 12 out of 12, like, sure, there's not really any debate if there's a 12
No,
out of 12.
there's not.
Do you know what I mean?
No.
But there'll be a hell of a lot of debate tomorrow.
Does this feel like a controversial year or no?
Less so, but
Less
like
so.
it's gas. If you pick the All-Star team at half-time in the All-Ireland final, it's going to be a hell of a lot different.
No, this is why players can't take it to heart.
Yeah.
In some ways, you know what I mean?
It's mad, like, yeah. And just
there's a scoreboard journalism aspect to this in such a big way.
And even what Martin said as well about kind of legacy things.
Yeah.
So if somebody was left out last year, even out of a nomination or out of the team, and you're getting it in the year, left, right and centre, all winter and all spring, it's the natural human thing to be a little more disposed to push for that person a little bit more the next year. Even though a lot of the time, someone could get a nomination this year and he was more deserving last year.
Yeah.
It's gas.
I know, I saw a quote from Owen Mulligan talking a while back. He's like, I got one that year, I didn't deserve it. I didn't get one the year I deserved it.
Yeah.
You know, all these things.
Yeah. And even like as well, I've had rows with lads before. I remember in 2022, it was Mikey Butler or Sean Finn for the cornerback All-Star. And I was adamant it was Mikey Butler. And lads were saying, but Sean Finn is a better cornerback. Okay, grand. But was he a better cornerback this year?
Yeah.
And I was like, and I think it's very important, and to look at someone like Eamon Kendi with Kilkenny in 2000. Like his career only lasted 2 years with Kilkenny, but he was the best centre back in the country in 2000, so he deserves his All-Star, and it has to be taken in a vacuum or a prism of that year, not what somebody did the previous year.
You're 100% right, but it doesn't happen very often.
No.
Because if you take a newcomer arriving on the scene, and against somebody who's won 3 or 4 All-Stars already, there's a residue in the, of the fellow with 3 or 4 All-Stars, where the newcomer has to. It's not as if everybody starts with a clean slate in January. They only need to start with a slate in July anyway. But they don't start with a clean slate, everybody, because some are more equal than others.
Well, good luck.
Thanks. Yeah, looking forward to it.